Other M sucks. It ruined the franchise. Why was this game even made? It destroyed Samus's character. It killed the franchise. These were some of the things I heard about when it came to the discussion of Metroid Other M. And I would agree with these opinions since that was what everyone was saying about the game, and from what I saw, it was true. But I should probably tell you my history with the Metroid series itself before I talk about my history with Other M. My introduction to this series was thanks to Some Call Me Johnny, a YouTuber who makes videos reviewing video games. It was his review of Metroid Prime 3 that convinced me to pick it up for myself when I saw it at a used game store. That first playthrough cemented my love for this series, the story, the atmosphere, everything, and I wanted to learn and experience as much of this franchise as I could. But it was through the same person who introduced me to this series that I learned about its worst entry, the one that destroyed Nintendo's Bounty Hunter's reputation, and the game fans blamed for no new Metroid games coming out from 2010 to 2016. I wouldn't look for it, nor pick it up when I did see it, because I was taught when it comes to money, if you're going to buy something for yourself, make sure it's going to be something you're going to enjoy. And since no one I watched enjoyed the game, why should I check it out for myself and in my eyes, waste my money? Now, in the past couple of years, it seems like the tone towards Metroid Other M has changed, at least when it comes to certain aspects of the game. During this change of tone, I saw a copy of Other M for $20, but I also saw a copy of the first Dead Space for the same price, so I had a choice. Get a game that I probably won't like, or at least major parts of, or an entry in a series that I had heard a lot about and it always piqued my interest. I ended up buying Dead Space, and that's where I thought my history with Other M would end. But as time went on, I kept thinking about Other M, mostly in my nightmares, but that's besides the point. Eventually I decided, screw it. I bought the game for $15 so I could experience firsthand what was hated by so many fans nearly 14 years later. The problem is, I wouldn't be able to play this game blind, or get hyped for its release, or think it was going to be one of the best games in the series. Sadly, I will never know what that experience would be like. But at least I can talk to someone who was a fan of the series and bought Other M when it came out. Someone who also had a big impact on my love for the series and expanded my love for its story and characters. Luckily, I know just the person. Metroid Other M was a collaborative project made up of Yoshio Sakamoto, who worked on all the 2D Metroid games except for Metroid 2, and from my understanding, pretty much had a complete creative control over Other M, along with Nintendo Software Planning and Development Group Number 1, which was made up of a lot of people who worked on the WarioWare games and the 2D Metroid games. There was Team Ninja, the developers behind the Neuro Ninja Gaiden games, Noah, Dead or Alive, and will later go on to work on the Hyrule Warriors games, which are pretty fun. Last but not least, D-Rocket, who worked alongside Team Ninja when it came to making the cutscenes for some of their games. This team will be referred to as Project M, so why don't we take a look at how this collaboration project turned out. The game starts off with an introductory cutscene in space, with debris from something, and then an explosion, and is that space sperm? What the hell? We skip to recreation of the final fight against Mother Brain from Super Metroid. Firstly, am I the only one who thinks Mother Brain's head reminds him of the FNAF 4 cupcake? Also, I think her robotic limbs should look more, well, robotic. Secondly, holy shit, this cutscene is amazing. The game itself still looks fantastic nearly 14 years later, and it's probably one of the best looking games on the Wii. If you told me this game came out on the Switch, I would believe you, and that just shows how talented the people who made up Project M are. Anywho, Mother Brain kills the baby Metroid, and its death gives Samus the Hyper Beam. One shot of it later, and we see Samus getting a checkup. We are then met with an ass shot of Samus and this guy, who says,
"Sharp-looking charge beam, just the way I like it." Okay, those are the moves I remember.
Which makes me want to get out of the tutorial section as quickly as possible. Speaking of the tutorial, it's decent and mostly tells you everything you need to know about this game's controls, which is done with a single Wii remote. The reason for this decision is that Sakamoto wanted the controls of Other M to be as simple as the ones from an NES game. You move Samus with the D-pad, shoot and drop bombs with 1, jump with 2, go into the morph ball with A, and open the map with plus. That's not all though, because the way you use missiles is by using first person mode. You do this by turning the Wii remote around and pointing it towards the sensor bar, pressing A to shoot and holding the B button and moving the Wii remote around to look around. You can also replant missiles and health when you're low on them by using the new concentration move. This is done by pointing the Wii remote straight up in the air and holding the A button. Other M also introduces new moves to increase Samus' combat abilities. The first one is the Sense move, which lets you dodge out of the way from incoming attacks. And if you're holding down the 1 button while you perform this move, it gives you a charge shot to unleash against an enemy. If you manage to jump onto an enemy's head while holding one, you can blast them with a charge shot at point blank range. This would be great if it was easier to land on enemies in the first place. But due to me being constricted by the D-pad, I found myself rarely using this move. Finally, there is the lethal strike move. When you down an enemy, hold one and press the D-pad in any direction, and you'll do a finisher, which looks awesome. Now, something this game doesn't teach you is that you can dodge in first-person mode. When the lights on the HUD turn green, wiggle the remote around and you will dodge the attack. This is super helpful, and it should have been in the tutorial. These controls are some of the worst I have ever experienced. Using the D-pad to move Samus is so clunky. The thing is, it didn't have to be. When I played Crash Bandicoot and Pac-Man World, I used the D-pad to move around. The reason why it worked so well is because the level design felt like it was designed around using the D-pad. Unfortunately, most of Other M's levels feel like it was designed with the use of an analog stick in mind. Switching positions with the Wii Remote to use the concentration move or the first-person mode is also the worst implementation of motion controls I've ever experienced. And I'm a person who is fine with Donkey Kong Country Returns use of motion controls. There will be multiple times when you try to go into first-person mode and the game will not recognize it, so Samus will just stand there. Or you will try to heal and Samus will just go into the Morph Ball instead. Because they decided to use the A button for both moves when they could have easily used the B button instead. So we skip forward in time and Samus is flying through space in her trusty gunship when she gets a distress call, and...
Codename Baby's Cry. A common SOS with the urgency of a baby crying. The nickname comes from the fact that the purpose of the signal is to draw attention.
Okay, it's a distress call. There's already urgency with it being called that, so having the call be named Baby's Cry doesn't add much, except for some symbolism. Samus boards the bottle ship, and one Prime S transition later, it turns out we are not the only ones here. So is the Galactic Federation. The GF Marines in the Prime series were pretty cool. I love their designs and the fact they all respected Samus. But in this game, it seems like they either don't care about her, or are complete jackwagons. The only GF troops I cared about was Anthony and Adam. Anthony's a pretty good character, and I can tell why he and Samus became friends. The reason I care about Adam is because he appeared in Fusion and Dread, so I have some kind of emotional attachment to the character.
Pierced my heart.
Okay, something we need to get out of the way now is the voice acting. Now, I do commend Sakamoto for having voice acting in this game, since it does make it feel more cinematic, which is what he wanted. But it's not great. The actors for the GF troops are alright, but when it comes to Samus and Adam, the main characters, it's very hit or miss. When it comes to Samus, it's often a miss. Now, this wasn't due to someone messing up the localization, or the voice director being asleep for the recordings. This was because of, yet again, Sakamoto. He is the one who told Jessica Martin to match the Japanese voice actress of Samus, Ai Kobayashi's readings of the lines. And that's why we get lines like this.
Metroids? Here?
Now, some lines are pretty good.
Wait, Anthony, leave this one to me. Don't waste your plasma.
But it sucks that the overall voice acting in this game is subpar at best. After killing this monster who's made up of tiny bugs, Adam says he is going to need Samus's cooperation for the mission, but that the use of the super missiles, power bomb, speed booster, shine spark, ice beam, wave beam, and plasma beam is not authorized, which is understandable. What isn't understandable is not being able to use the grapple beam, space jump, various suit, and gravity suit. Speaking of the suits, this is a good time to discuss the designs of Samus's suits in the game. I'm not a fan. I feel like it lacks the presence and bulkiness that makes it feel like it's a suit of armor that could exist, something that the Metroid Prime and Super Metroid suits had. I don't mind the idea of having a sleeker, less bulky suit for Samus, but I feel like there's a balance between the bulky look from the previous games and the slenderness and sleekness of the Fusion and Other M suits. A balance that I feel the Dread suit nails. Another reason why I may not like the Varia suit in this game is because I feel like the Galactic Federation suits and the Varia suit have a design language that's too similar to one another, where it kind of comes across like the Varia suit is just an enhanced or modified Galactic Federation suit. Both suits have very little bulkiness to them, not many lights, and a lot of smooth edges. While when you look at the Prime design and compare it to the Prime series GF troops, they look like they come from different backgrounds completely, with the GF troops having more sharp lines and edges and come off as more bulky pieces of armor. While the Varia suit does have some sharp lines and bulk to it, overall it has a more refined and advanced look to it, which makes sense based on its origin. Now, there are things I like about the Other M suit, like the black material between the pieces of armor, and when Samus is at low health, the lights and visor on the suit turn a red-orange color, which is a great way to visually determine Samus' health when you're not looking at the health bar. I also really like the colors they use for the Varia suit. But then we get to the gravity suit, which is just a disappointment. When the gravity suit is activated, the suit gets a purple aura, and the visor and lights on the suit turn purple. It was done because Sakamoto thought the purple suit looked out of place during cutscenes when Samus was having a serious conversation. But the amount of art there is of what a proper gravity suit could have looked like hurts, because god damn it, it looks amazing. Back to the story, do I have some things to say about this cutscene, where we learn a bit about Samus' past. Not about her life when she was living on K2L or with the Chozo, but when she was part of the Galactic Federation. Firstly, why does she say confession time when she is having an internal monologue with herself?
Because I was so young when I lost both of my parents.
Show us that! Show us Samus losing her parents, instead of just telling us! Some of you may not know this, but there was an official manga that tied into the events of Metroid Zero Mission that was only released in Japan. It told the story of Samus' life before she went to stop Mother Brain, the loss of her parents, the Chozo raising her, joining and leaving the Galactic Federation. And the marketing for Other M was all about this game showing us Samus' past. You would think they would show us these events in the game, but they don't, except for one of those events, but it is very different from what was in the manga. And we are not even at the worst part of this cutscene.
I saw Adam as a father figure.
What about the Chozo? What about Old Bird and Grey Voice, the ones who found you and raised you, gave you their DNA, the ones we later learned taught you their language, the ones that made the suit you are currently wearing? But I guess in this game, that means jack shit to Samus. This game's marketing was all about learning Samus' backstory, but the Chozo, one of the most critical parts of that story, are never mentioned. Why? Let's move on. Adam gives the Galactic Federation troops and Samus their missions. Her mission is to get the power back on, and after playing Exterminator, the mission is completed, with her next one being to get to a facility in Sector 1. This is where we are met with another dead scientist. I wish I had the scan visor from the Prime series so I could read his autopsy. Not long later, Samus is met with this fuzzy little marshmallow that was playing with a dragon fruit. It then runs off, and when Samus starts walking ahead, it's staring her down. Oh shit, it's a copy, Samus, kill it. Kill it now. I have seen this second Jurassic Park movie. I know what those things can do. Something I love about this game is how the battle ship uses holograms to display its environments. And it never fails to amaze me when you turn on and off the holograms. After destroying these drones that actually gave me a bit of trouble my first time playing, we get the diffusion beam, which gives the charge shot a bigger area of effect. And it's a fantastic upgrade, one that I'm so glad came back in Metroid Dread. After some running around, we get to the first water section of the game, and oh my god, why does the water slow down my firing speed? That is so stupid, and it leaves me open to getting attacked by those damn fish. To my knowledge, no Metroid game before or after this had being underwater affect Samus' firing speed, so why was it done in this game? Once we reach the facility where we hope to learn what happened on this ship, we find that the door has been damaged alongside the computer, with James getting here before us. While Maurice tries to fix the computer, Samus and the other GF Marines are tasked with looking around the facility to see if they can find any clues. After passing 2 GF Marines inspecting a bed for clues, it's not long until we find another corpse, but this time it's a space pirate. One from the planet Zebes, that has been cybernetically enhanced by the scientists on board. Why the hell did they put the GF logo on it? At least try to hide the fact that you're doing some shady shit. After this, we learned that the station was operated by the Galactic Federation. No shit. That the head of the station is Madeline Bergman, and the crew of the station were experimenting with bioweapons, which is super illegal. Not too long after that bombshell, Samus tries to help the GF Marines who are being attacked by this huge derpy reptile, but ends up getting pinned down by the creature. The GF Marines are now being overwhelmed by other creatures, so we have to dodge this thing's tail, and it's just a worse version of the elevator med Ridley fight from Prime 3. But right before the lizard can stab us, Anthony comes in and clutches with his plasma beam. Now, this is one of the first infamous parts of Other M, scanning the green blood on the grass. And I don't have a problem with this. I think that the blood is a bright enough shade of green so it stands out against the grass. Adam tells Samus that the creature that pinned her down is now inside Sector 3, And you know what that means. Adam doesn't authorize the very suit until we go through multiple superheated areas. Now, this part was done much better in the Japanese version, but that's not what we got in North America, so that defense doesn't hold up, since Sakamoto was involved with the localization. Also, why does Samus control like a sloth walking in tar when she lands in lava? And when Samus lands in the lava for a second or two, she can't move or jump, which just increases the amount of health you lose. But then we had to go through this enemy encounter, and this was one of the worst parts of the game for me. You need to survive an enemy encounter where you don't deal a lot of damage to the enemies for 40 seconds until Adam gives you authorization for the ice beam. Then you have to beat all the enemies and destroy the hide that keeps spawning these things, which you can only do in first person mode. The game saves at the beginning of the encounter, and if you have very low health like I did, it's going to be very difficult to do this. Another reason why it's so difficult is because enemies in this game don't drop health. Yeah, the only ways you can refill your health is by getting to save rooms or by using the concentration move. After running through another superheated area and exiting from a volcano, Samus has finally allowed use of the Varia suit. One meh boss fight later and being blue balled out again in the grapple beam, Samus is then tasked with heading to Sector 2 to look for survivors. Question: why would there be a high chance of survivors hiding out in the sector where everything is frozen, where hypothermia and frostbite is a huge possibility? After a short walk through Canada during the spring and unlocking the speed boost and shine spark, Samus reaches an outpost where she finds another dead GF Marine, but this time it's Maurice, and there's a woman looking at us through a window. The mysterious woman says that another GF Marine killed Maurice. As Samus tries to calm down the woman, a giant mech busts in and we see that the pilot is a GF Marine. Who it is? We don't know. Gotta build up this mystery after all. After a pretty fun boss fight, it's revealed that our pathway is blocked, and Adam tells Samus that the creature from before is riling up the other species in Sector 3. So we are once again tasked with dealing with the creature in Sector 3. We get another internal monologue by Samus, pretty much just recapping what we just learned in the previous cutscene, that there is a traitor amongst the GF Marines. Samus decides to call them the Deleter, and we see them killing another GF Marine in Sector 3. So we get to this room where we need to use the wave beam to activate the switch, but Adam decides not to give it to us now. So what do? Go wander around until you get to this point and dodge the space bar's fire until Adam authorizes the wave beam. Now this part is nowhere near as bad as getting the ice beam, but I don't think this is a good way to give the player upgrades. When you find the upgrades by yourself, it makes backtracking more fun because you are able to go through areas that you didn't have access to before because you didn't have the right tool before. Here, you have all the upgrades from the start. You just can't use them until the game says you can. This makes backtracking less fun because the only thing that was stopping you from going into those areas before was the lack of permission instead of the tool itself. After running away from an avalanche and 2 elevator rides later, we are back in Sector 3. We find Anthony getting held up by this thing, and Adam finally gives Samus the okay to use the grapple beam. The boss fight against this thing is actually really fun, so she gets to team up with Anthony to take it down. Although it runs off before you can finish the job. This is where we get another flashback, where we learn why Samus left the Galactic Federation. In the manga, Samus left the GF on good terms, but in Other M, that is not the case. You see, Adam had a brother, Ian, and one day the Galactic Federation was tasked to rescue a ship and fix its drive unit. As soon as Ian starts fixing it, something goes wrong. Samus pleads with Adam to let her go and try to save Ian, but he refuses, and the drive unit is detached from the passenger ship, saving the crew on the ship but leaving Ian to die in the explosion. After getting attacked by some no, we fight the monster that almost killed Anthony again, and whatever you do, do not go back into the save room and save. This will cause a soft lock, not allowing you to continue the game. After some cleanup in Sector 3, Samus is met with a shocking sight. The creature has evolved again. And it's not long later until Samus meets the evolved creature. Luckily, Anthony's with us, and after not being able to find that damn hatch we are supposed to shoot for a couple minutes, because oh my god, it's way too dark in this room, the area is lit up, and the creature we have been hunting is a clone of Ridley. Dun dun bing! So during the game, they have implied that the creature has been recognized and remembered Samus, which is not how cloning works. Now, if this was a clone made by the Space Force, I could believe that they had copied Ridley's memories, probably during the events of Metroid Prime, and somehow inserted them into the new clone. But since this is the Galactic Federation, they would never have access to Ridley's memories. There's also the part where Samus is allowed to use the plasma beam, but also the part where she gets PTSD from Ridley. And this right here is the most infamous part of Other M. Now, Samus did suffer from PTSD when she first encountered Ridley in the Metroid manga, years after she saw him kill her mother. That plot point was introduced / hinted at in the Japanese exclusive ending screens in Metroid Fusion, and we never see Samus suffer from her PTSD in any of the games, not even in Zero Mission, which had cutscenes and was a follow-up to the Metroid manga. Now, I did see some people reason why Samus suffered from PTSD now was because at the end of Super Metroid, Samus thought Ridley was finally dead, and she could finally put that part of her past to rest. But seeing the monster who ruined her life return could have triggered PTSD. I think this is a good explanation. I just wish the game told us that, or gave another explanation on why her PTSD was triggered. After Samus gets grabbed by the Ridley clone, Anthony comes to the rescue.
Man, you got no stop. He has no grace. This comes as a funny face.
Anthony is a total badass in this scene, but that's not enough since Ridley knocks him into the pool of lava below. This is when Samus decides to get up from the ground and remember she can fight. And fight she does. Now the Ridley boss fight may not be super difficult, but damn if it's not cinematic, and the new arrangement of Ridley's theme is amazing. Let's take a moment to talk about the music in Other M. I thought it was fine. Now it could be because this is my first time playing the game, but I didn't find much of the music super memorable like other soundtracks in the game. That's not saying it's bad. There are some really good tracks, like the previously mentioned Ridley theme. Also the track I played at this part I really liked. And the piano piece at the end was beautiful. It's definitely not the best soundtrack the series has to offer, but that's okay. After the fight against the bastard, Ridley runs away like the coward he is. With nothing left to do in Sector 3, we head to the elevator, and Samus says that communication with Adam has ceased, and that he would already know about the deleter. Which is surprising since he has not mentioned the deleter once. Samus follows the JF Marine to Sector 1, and I love how the vegetation starts to take over the sector during this revisit. It's a small touch, but I love these kind of things in video games. This is also where we get this part, where Samus acts how I imagined she would act, given the impression of her I got from the rest of the series. We finally meet up with the woman from before, who reveals herself to be Madeline Bergman. Anyway, this is where we get a huge plot dump, and oh boy, here we go! We learn that the Galactic Federation was making a task force made up of bioweapons based on the space pirates. Samus wonders why they didn't just blow up the bottle ship when things got out of hand. And that's when Madeline Bergman tells Samus that there was an even more dangerous plan, that being cloning Metroids, because of course they're stupid enough to think that's a good idea. You see, they were controlling the Metroids with an AI based on Mother Brain that they called MB, and the AI became self-aware from being with the Metroids. Madeline tells Samus that MB and the Metroids are located in a secret sector called Sector 0. But you're probably wondering, how did they get Metroid DNA in the first place? Well, they got it off of Samus' suit, which means I knew it! And the Ridley clone? Yeah, they didn't know it was Ridley. They found some random DNA on Samus' suit and decided to clone it and raise it as a pet. They even named it Little Birdie. Now I have no idea why they would treat it like a pet when it has razor-sharp teeth, but it's already common knowledge that the scientists on the bottle ship are idiots. Seriously, I wouldn't be surprised if one of the canned projects was trying to recreate Samus' morph ball. Madeline also tells Samus that Adam is the one who's the head of the Metroid cloning project. So the new objective is to get to Sector 0, with the entrance for it being located in Sector 2. And it doesn't take long for Samus to meet up with an older future enemy, Nightmare. Cause you guys remember Metroid Fusion, right? The boss is alright, and when you break off its mask, Nightmare starts crying, which sounds like this. I didn't find Nightmare super scary in Fusion, but yeah, he's terrifying in Other M, so good job. When we were about to take the elevator to Sector 0, the bottle ship suddenly starts to move. During Samus' walk into Sector 0, she is met with a baby Metroid. As Samus is about to take the shot, she gets shot by an ice beam, which causes the Varia suit to disappear, and she blacks out. Not before the baby Metroid tries to attack Samus, but is stopped by an ice beam, fired by Adam? Some time passes, and when Samus wakes up, she sees Adam beside her. Now, Samus asks Adam why he shot her. Adam tells Samus that she cannot destroy the Metroids, which is not an answer. Adam says that the Metroids the GF cloned may no longer be weak to the cold, which seems like bullshit since we just saw Adam kill one by freezing it. When Samus questions him on this, he guesses that maybe it was because the Metroid is still lava, so it doesn't have the immunity yet. That doesn't make any sense! If you're trying to make something immune to something, like a vital weakness, why wouldn't you have that immunity be present immediately after it's born? Now, the idea that Metroid would later grow an immunity to cold that was inherited by a Kree Metroid could work, so that's how the human immune system works. It's not explained like that's how it would work. This plot point's stupid. Samus asks Adam why he was credited as the creator of the Metroid military program report, and he tells her that the Galactic Federation HQ asked him to write a report. He stated in the report why that would be super dangerous and should not be attempted. Apparently, some Galactic Federation members co-opted that report, resulting in a nightmare before us. Anne tells Samus that her mission is to find and secure another survivor, stop the battleship from colliding with Galactic Federation HQ, kill Ridley, and to not trust Madeline Bergman. So not that much of a challenge for Samus. While Adam's mission is to create enough damage in Sector 0 so that the sector will separate from the battleship and self-destruct. Which is when we get this.
You have to trust me. Just give me a chance.
Samus, I wish I could battle Ridley, but I can't. Unlike you, I'm no galactic savior. I'm merely human. But I can save you.
Wait! Adam! Wait! Adam! Please wait!
No objections. Right, lady?
I see what they're trying to do in this scene, but to me it falls flat in a couple areas. Firstly, having Adam shoot and incapacitate Samus when the Metroid is right in front of her was a dumb choice, because if he had missed the Metroid, Samus would have died. I do like Adam's I'm only human line. That was really good. Maybe if this scene happened with Samus not being in a weakened state, and they just talked and had that conversation, and Samus lets Adam go through with his plan. Like, she doesn't like it, and it doesn't want Adam to sacrifice himself and lose another person in her life, but she understands that it's the only option they have. Adam's mission is successful, and Samus is nearly sucked into the vacuum of space, but she finally turns on her poor excuse for a gravity suit and leaves what's left of Sector 0. We find the other survivor, but she runs away from Samus and unleashes a Queen Metroid on her. Jesus, lady, don't you think that's a bit overkill? Oh, this is also where we find James' body, who apparently is the deleter. Yeah, this game doesn't wrap up plot points well. During the Queen Metroid fight, the Queen will release baby Metroids to attack you, freeze them with your ice beam, and then go into first-person mode and blow them up with some missiles. Which is harder said than done, because you need to focus on freezing and killing the Metroids while avoiding the unfrozen Metroids' attacks, as well as the Queen Metroid's own attacks. Once you do this a couple times, the Queen will grow crystals from her head down her neck, and will start breathing fire at you. Dodge the fire breath with your screw attack, and then blow up the crystals with secret missiles. Once you do this, someone pulls the emergency parking brake for the battleship, and Samus decides to grapple into the beast's mouth and releases a power bomb, killing it. Samus finds the woman and it's revealed that she is Madeline Bergman. The blonde woman from before is MB in an android body, whom Madeline called Melissa Bergman. You see, MB was getting too smart, and her opinions started to conflict with the other scientists. They decided to alter MB's AI program, who said no to that and commanded the bioweapons in the battleship to attack the scientists. Right after Madeline's recap, we find MB. Woohoo! Only downside is she is holding Samus and Madeline at gunpoint. Madeline apologizes to MB for not stopping the scientists, but it's too late for that, and MB force pushes Madeline away. Samus catches her, and a bunch of GF Marines arrive. Just in time. And they freeze MB, who breaks free and commands all the bioweapons to come in and attack everyone in the room. With 1 point of the Wii Remote later, the GF Marines open fire and MB is killed. Then this jackass comes in, who might as well have I'm corrupt as hell written on his face, and tells Samus that they have everything covered and she can piss off. However, Anthony survived, thank God, since he is probably the best thing that came from this game. And since his orders were to rescue any survivors, Madeline is safe and leaves the battleship with Anthony and Samus. Except that's not the end. Samus goes back to the battleship to retrieve something that's irreplaceable, but not before a rematch against Phantoon, which was a pretty fun boss fight, honestly. After killing the ghost again, Samus finds the item she has been looking for, Adam's helmet. Not long after she finds it, the self-destruct sequence on the battleship activates, giving Samus 5 minutes to get back to her gunship and get out of Dodge, concluding my experience with Metroid Other M. Out of all the games I played during my life, Metroid Other M is the first one I have not only beaten, but 100%ed that I never want to play again. There's too much going against it for me to consider picking it up again. And that's heartbreaking because I love the Metroid series. And to have these feelings towards one of its games hurts. I do like how the developers were able to give us a new format for 3D Metroid. And I think it's just as good and in some ways better than the Prime format. I loved how most of the upgrades in this game feel just like their 2D counterparts. Upgrades that have never been in the Prime games or had to be changed in order to work in that format made their 3D debut in Other M, and they are implemented quite well. In some ways, I think it pulled off the space station mimicking a planet's environment better than Fusion did. The game still looks gorgeous, and the level design is pretty good, and the open areas would be fun to run around in if I wasn't limited to using a D-pad, and in order to use certain moves, I need to move the controller in different positions. I really tried to see the good in this game, and there are good parts, but I just buried on so much jankiness and bad decisions that those good parts aren't worth going through again. The game was, and in some degree still is, a black eye to not only the series, but also the person known for it, Yoshio Sakamoto. I remember seeing people ask if Metroid Dread redeemed Sakamoto, but I never thought he had to redeem himself. Other M was a misstep, yes, but one mistake should not make all the other great things he's brought to this franchise void. I do hope we get another 3D Metroid game in this style, but I don't think that will happen, and that's a real shame. Before I end this video, I would like to thank some people. My mom and my sister for looking over the script for me. I really appreciate all the help. And lastly, you guys for watching this video. I would love to hear what you guys thought of it. What you liked, what you didn't. I'm brand new at making these kinds of videos, and any advice you guys have for me, I'd appreciate it. With that said, thank you for watching this video, and I hope to see you next mission.